Well, that didn't work, did it? Get rid of that. As you know. Well, we are, yes, 3 days for the deck. I remember that moment of sublime optimism. And I think it actually took, in the end, 4 months. In fact, technically, I think it's still ongoing. I'm still happily married. Well, I'm certainly married. And kids are, seem to be showing me the same level of respect that they always have. I think we're doing all right, Simon. I think that, I'm really pleased with the garden. It's still ongoing. There's a saying that the garden that is finished is dead. And I firmly subscribe to that, and it's the excuse I always use when Jane says to me, "Why hasn't that been done yet?" Oh, it's because the garden that's finished is dead, and that needs to remain unfinished. I'm really pleased with the way the deck sits within the planting, which is what I always wanted to try and achieve, was a feeling that it was integrated and that you weren't somehow flying above the garden, because the deck is much higher than the rest of the garden. And then you've got the 4 distinct zones, and I was hoping that I'd create these spaces within the space. That is what makes a small garden much more interesting. I call this the main lawn. This is the main lawn. It takes you about, hang on, let's see how many seconds it takes you to walk it. The grand lawn. Let's call it the grand lawn from now on. Here, 1, 5 princely paces to get from one end to the other. And then there's the lower lawn. Oh, I see one of my people has been putting some washing out. Let's just scoot over that. I've divided these 2 spaces up, and I've got to give credit to Mrs. Wilson here. We started off with 2 olive trees. And we're looking at it and she said, "Do you know what, it needs a 3rd one." And she was absolutely right. And what it's done is it's actually created, and will do in time more so as these grow up, a kind of floating hedge. Because you've got the clear stems below, you've got the foliage up above, and that really does act as a divider, but without being a solid barrier. And that's the key thing in a small garden. You don't want solid barriers dividing the garden up, because it then does feel very small. Then past the washing, little raised bed of vegetables. This is failing spectacularly. I am terrible at growing veg, and everything's being eaten. The soil is improving, it needs a proper raised bed, it needs a lot of work. These are all excuses. Good though, aren't they? Compelling. This is where we get the sun last thing in the evening. Planting is very simple at the moment. There's just this block of lavender and a few containers. And this is, this is the old end of the day. Kids are having fun on the lawn, gin and tonic, sun streaming in, because this is the west-facing end of the garden. Lovely. If you think about our modern lives, spent sending emails and, doing things in cyberspace, there is very little tangible at the end of it. It's all up there in the ether. And gardening is one of the things that you can do, that you really see your impact at the end of it. So when we moved in here last year, this was just a wiggly bit of lawn with a couple of huge conifer trees and not much else. And now it's a garden. And I can see that, I can see the results of my labours, and it's bloody great.